everyone. I'll first of all like to welcome each and every one of you to this program on Astronomy Research Data Analysis, where you are going to learn to create some amazing, beautiful looking visualizations that you can create from a boring looking CSV data or a tabular data, and even from the raw data from the astronomical surveys, how you can take that images and extract some amazing features present in those images. So all of this kind of work you are going to do in this particular program, and then whatever kind of visualizations that you will be generating, you can extract from Python into your particular system, and then later on use it for your research work, thesis work, or internship report, right? So that's the kind of thing that we are going to deal with in this program. So this whole program is divided into 4 different modules to make these things very easier for you guys. Okay. But before I go ahead and explain any of this, let me quickly introduce to you all myself. So I am Rohan and I'm currently working at Spartificial as a machine learning engineer. And I'll be the one who's going to guide you throughout this whole program. And I'll promise you guys that you are just going to simply enjoy this program. And you just need to code along with me. That's one thing that is really important. If you don't code along with me, it's just going to be boring for you, okay? Especially if you are new to Python, you need to code along with me, because each and every code that I'll be writing in the upcoming modules, I'll be writing from scratch. So I'm 100% willing that you all are going to code along with me, okay? So now let's talk about each and every module that we are having over here. So the first module, we are going to start from extreme scratch. Even if you are very new to Python, it's completely fine. In the first module, I have covered each and every basics of Python that you will require to create some amazing visualizations with the help of Python. Okay. So module 1 is compulsory for you guys, just in case if you are new to Python. If you are already aware about the Python, then you are good to go ahead and move to module 2. In module 2, you are going to deal with a CSV tabular data. That data will be based on some kind of real stars out there in universe. Now from that tabular data, you are going to create some beautiful visualizations, including an HR diagram. If you are not sure about what is HR diagram, it's completely fine. Okay, we are going to learn about that in module 2. Then in module 3, we are going to go to the astronomical surveys, where we are having these raw images taken from multiple different telescopes. And from that survey, we are just going to fetch an image of Andromeda galaxy and then do some of the pixel scaling and all this kind of basic visualizations with respect to an image data. And finally, in the fourth module, the last module, you are going to take that Andromeda galaxy and do a bit advanced level of image processing. And I am going to teach you that if you want to implement any kind of filter, if you want to extract any kind of features, that how you can do it with the help of Python. So that's exactly what we are going to cover in all of this upcoming 4 modules for this particular program. And I hope that you are just going to enjoy this. Okay. So let's get started with the first particular module, that is basics of Python, from the next video. So let's understand that how we can use this kind of Python notebooks that are available online in order to code in Python. The one that we are going to use is specifically called as Google Colab notebooks. Okay, so you go to Google and search for Google Colab. And now if you come on to the second link, you just click on that. It will redirect you to this page where you are getting this option of creating a new notebook. So let's go ahead and click on that new notebook. And now I don't need that first tab, so I'll just close that up. Now the whole idea about this kind of notebooks, which we also call as interactive Python notebooks, in short IPYNB, as you can see over here also, right? These files are basically used in order to have the mixtures of text cells along with the code cells. So what you are seeing right now on my screen, this particular cell which is getting blinked like that, this is called the code cell. I can create multiple code cells by clicking over here, right? And I can do my specific task I want to do over here, here, and get my outputs done. You will be using this a lot as we go ahead in this program. But yeah, this is a very basic introduction with respect to this code. Let's say you're writing some kind of a code in Python over here. If you want to run it, you simply come over here and click on this. Or else you can also see there is a shortcut that is Control Enter. You click on Control Enter and this code is going to run. Okay, and let's say if you want to go to the next cell by running this cell, you click on Shift Enter. it automatically shifts your cursor to the next code cell or any kind of cell. Let's say if I want to create a text cell between both of this code cell, I hover my mouse in between two cells, and over here I'm getting the option of text. I click on that and I get this option of this text cell. Now the purpose of the text cell over here in this kind of IPYNB notebooks uh, is to give you some kind of description of what will be done in this following code cells that we are writing. So in this kind of interactive Python notebooks, you are getting this kind of facilities to decorate your notebook the way you want, so that if anyone who is going to look into this notebook, or for that matter, let's say even yourself who are going to look into this notebook after, let's say, some months, you need to know that if your documentation is good and visually appealing, then it's very easy to find out a lot of stuff, and it's going to be interesting to, like, scroll through this whole notebook and get to the exact point where you want to find out some kind of information. So it all depends on to, like, how much decorative notebooks you want to create, how much kind of information in text you want to add, and then how much kind of code things you want to code over here and get your job done. Now, yeah, that was a very quick introduction about the Google Colab notebook, and pretty much things that you need to know about Google Colab is, I guess, enough over here. Some of the things that we can do to start over here before moving on to the second video would be, let's say, by naming this notebook. I'll change this notebook name to, let's say, basics of Python. Okay, any kind of name that is going to describe what kind of content is present within this notebook. And then I can also create a text cell and give a heading with the help of this hash. And let's say, because this kind of whole program is dedicated for astronomy visualizations and analysis from that visualizations, what we can do is we can give a good name like Python basics for astronomy, something like this, whatever suits you the best, right? And then after this we can start coding ourselves for the first thing in Python. Let's say, just like everyone does in Python, like, or any kind of programming language here, let's say we are going to print hello world, right? So if I'm writing hello world like this, right, and then I'm just going to pass this kind of hello world within print. This is going to be our first code that we have written in Python, print hello world, and that's exactly being printed over here. So now in this video I have shown you how you can create this kind of text cells, give headings, or not just headings, you can give images over here, you can add links to a specific word you want to add, like, you want your people to redirect to some stuff, you can have bold, italic, and all this kind of stuff. After that, I've also shown you how you can start using this kind of code cells in Python. And obviously, if you did not understand what have I written over here, why did I specifically have this kind of quotation mark, everything will be covered in the upcoming videos. So stay tuned. Alright, so now that we have written a specific code in Python, now let's say I want some kind of a way through which I can describe what I have written over here, or what is the purpose of writing this kind of code. I can do this with the help of Python comments. Okay, for that again I'll have to use this kind of hashtag, and then I just give any kind of description that describes what is the purpose of writing this code, what does it explain. So now, because this was my first code that I have shown you in Python, I can give this kind of a comment like my first code in Python. You can also write this thing for yourself, right? So what is the main purpose of writing this kind of comments? So whenever you are writing some kind of a logic of your code, if you are having this kind of comments that you are writing to describe your logic, that how did you come up to this particular logic to solve a particular problem, then what happens that even after, let's say, 1 year, 2 years, if you are coming onto this notebook, and now because you are having this kind of descriptions in Python that is describing what you have done, it's giving you a hint, some kind of this kind of a click to your brain that, okay, now I remember why I had coded this specific thing in this way. Maybe because after 2 years of time, if you're coming onto this concept which you haven't touched in a while, let's say you're trying to apply for an interview, you want to take a project that you have created over here and explain it to them. So if you are trying to revise something which you haven't used in quite a while now, so if you will be having this kind of comments in Python, that will help you to revise this kind of things very quickly, because this kind of comments is going to click your brain that, okay, now I remember what was the reason that I had done this kind of code in this specific way. So that's the whole idea with respect to Python comments. But now that's not the only one way through which you can have the comments in Python. Okay, because over here we are having only one line of comment. What if I want multiple lines of comment, right? For that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create one more text cell over here first of all, and just introduce to that the first thing that I'm teaching you guys is about comments. Okay, but I can also give this into this way of heading. Okay, 3 hashes, and now you can clearly see that this kind of text is much more smaller in size as compared to this. So this looks good, right? But yeah, now what I'm going to do is I've already explained the first thing about the comments over here. Now let's say if you want to have multiple line comments. Okay, so what I can do is I can use 3 quotation marks. Either I can use 3 single quotation marks or 3 double quotation marks. Both of them is going to work just the same. Okay, so I am having my first 3 double quotations like this and 3 double quotations at the bottom. Now anything that I'm going to write within this quotation marks is going to be like a comment. Your Python is not going to execute as in the format of like some kind of a code. It's going to do something. It's just some kind of a description that you are going to mention over here. Let's say some kind of huge description you want to have, okay, is as compared to just a single line. Then obviously you can go ahead and use this kind of things. Let's say this is my first line of comment. This is my second line of comment. I'll be showing you this, that I'll be using this when I'm going to teach you the concepts of functions. At that times, I'll be using this kind of multi-line comments. Now, again, let's say that you are having bunch of lines that you want to write. Let's say, again, this is my first comment. This is my second comment. Now, let's say if you want to comment all of this thing with the help of this hashtag only, you don't want to use this kind of quotation marks, then what you can do is, let's say how many lines I am having, it doesn't matter. The important thing is that I am going to select the whole text and then press Ctrl plus forward slash, and automatically it's going to give me this kind of hashes by itself. I didn't do anything. I just pressed Ctrl and the forward slash. What did I do? I selected the text below and pressed what? Control plus this. By doing this together, you can either comment all of this kind of code or maybe decomment it by again pressing the same thing. That's simple that it gets for the comments. So for a quick revision, what we have done over here is, now you know how to create print statements in Python. Obviously not like you are not aware about this, that why did we use this kind of quotation marks, what happens if we don't use it. I'll be explaining all of that thing in the following videos. But yeah, for now you know how this kind of print statement works in order to print something, and then what are the kind of need of writing comments for your code. Now in the next video, I'm going to talk about what are variables and constants that we need in Python. So now what I'll be doing is I'll be just commenting this whole thing because it's looking very ugly. What is the reason behind that? You will be understanding right now in this video. So what you are studying right now is called as variables and constants. Okay, so before I write any kind of code, I'll be giving a text that describes that I'm going to explain about variables and constants. Okay. Now what I'm doing over here is, just remember your classes of mathematics. You know that we give this kind of things like x is equal to 3, y is equal to 5, or any kind of number 6, whatever it is, right? You know that you do this kind of things. So what we are doing over here is, essentially we are saying that x is a variable that is going to take the value of 3. It's just like that. Y is a variable that is going to take the value of 6. Now, what is the whole purpose of having this kind of variables in your code? For example, let's say that I'm writing a lot of huge code, and somewhere I want to use the idea of that data that I'm assigned to that letter x. I want to use that again and again. For example, I'm giving you a very short example. Let's say I'm having a value of 3 that I want to add to a value of 3 itself. Let's say 3 plus 3. Now, if I want to write, let's say 4 plus 4, what I'll have to do is I'll have to change this to 4 plus 4 manually. Now like this, let's say I'm having a huge chain, 4, 5, then again 4, then again 5, like this. Okay. And now I'm saying that I want to change these values of all 4s to 3s. I'll have to change this manually. Then 5s to 2s. I'm doing all of this change manually. And let's say that this kind of code is pretty much long and you are having multiple times you have to change these things. So it does not make sense to write these things again and again in every kind of line. So what we do is we try to store this kind of data in a variable. For example, x is equal to 3, y is equal to 2. And now I just need to type x plus y plus x plus y. That's it. Now, if I want to see, so you can see that this is 3 plus 3y because x is having the value of 3. Now, in place of 2, we know that we are giving y because we know that y is equal to 2. And similarly, again, x plus y. Now, let's say if I again want to change this to 4, 4, 5, 4, 5. I just need to change x value to 4, y value to 5. As simple as that. So that's the power of having variables in Python. Now, just like that, there is also a concept of constants. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to simply go ahead and first of all print this to show you the outputs, how it looks like. So you are having this kind of 22 over here directly. Okay? It's the summation of this 4 plus 4 plus 5 plus 4 plus 5. So that's how this kind of thing is working. Now, one difference between these variables and constants in Python is what you are having. If you are trying to define a variable, you are always going to define it with the help of lowercase letter. You are always going to define it in the lowercase letter. And the moment if you want to convert this into a constant, you define it into an uppercase letter. Now this uppercase letter is going to indicate anyone who is reading your code in Python that, okay, yeah, now I know that this x is never going to change throughout your code, whereas your variables can go ahead and change any kind of data that you want to store in the variable, because the name variable itself means that it is varying, right? It's not constant, right? So that's the idea. What I'm trying to say is that in my next code over here, I can change the value of y to some other value, for example 1. But because I have mentioned x in the uppercase, we are simply saying that, okay, yeah, this x will always be 4. It will never be changed. No matter how deep codes I am writing, x will always be 4. So that's a very common difference between variables and constants. In variables, you try to assign any kind of data in form of small or lowercase letters. And if you want to store the value of constants, what you do is you assign any kind of value and give a uppercase letter to that. So now both of them are now stored in the format of what? Constants, right? As you can see, there are this kind of lines that are appearing, that are giving you this kind of yellow lines. What it indicates, it's simply indicating that x is not defined, y is not defined. Why it's not defined? Because I have removed that part of code. I have removed that part of code. But at the same time, it's also stored in the memory of this notebook. It is also stored in the memory of this notebook. What I'm trying to say is, if I comment out this code and now I run this, even though I haven't defined x, y anymore, it's still giving me the output. Why? Because initially while explaining you the code over here, I had started with small x and small y. So now that small x and small y is by default stored into the memory of this notebook. So make sure this kind of things are not repeated in your notebook, or else you are going to run into some kind of errors. Okay. But here was a very quick description with respect to what are variables and what are constants and when you should use what. Variables can change its data that it's trying to store, and constant will try to have a very constant value. It will never change throughout the whole code. That's the whole idea. Now I'll see you next with respect to what is strings in Python.